It's the 5th of May 2026. A map gets published online. Two red lines, stretching across open water, drawn by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. The lines don't represent borders that already exist. They represent borders Iran is claiming should exist, an expanded maritime zone of control, reaching deep into UAE coastal waters. Nobody mistakes this for a routine announcement. To understand what those two lines mean, you have to understand what sits between them. The Strait of Hormuz, 33 kilometers at its narrowest point. A sliver of water between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. Unremarkable on a map, catastrophic to close. Approximately a quarter of all seaborne oil on Earth passes through here, every day. Tankers carrying crude oil for Europe, Asia, and the Americas. LNG carriers. Fertilizer shipments. A significant portion of the global food supply moves through this corridor. It is not an exaggeration to say that this strait keeps the lights on for much of the world. Iran knows this. The war between the US, Israel, and Iran formally began on February 28, 2026. A ceasefire paused it on April 8th. But paused is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Since the fighting began, the strait has been largely closed. Tanker traffic that averaged 129 vessels per day in February dropped to a near standstill. Energy markets convulsed. Shipping costs spiked. The ripple effects hit food prices, insurance markets, and supply chains across 3 continents. Iran did not need to sink the US Navy to do this. It just needed to make the strait feel dangerous. Here is what Iran actually has at its disposal: one-way attack drones, fast attack craft armed with anti-ship cruise missiles, rocket launchers, anti-tank guided missiles that can be fired in large numbers from underground coastal facilities, mines, electronic disruption systems. The strait is narrow and congested. In that kind of space, you do not need a large military to impose enormous costs. You need credible threat. You need uncertainty. Uncertainty is enough. When insurers start pulling coverage for tankers transiting Hormuz, ships stop moving, regardless of what any navy does. When energy traders price in the risk of disruption, oil markets move. When shipping companies reroute or anchor their vessels offshore, the economic damage is already done. Iran cannot match American naval power symmetrically. It knows that. It is not trying to. On April 13th, the United States imposed a naval blockade on all Iranian ports and shipping. Iran's ability to export oil, import goods, and maintain foreign currency inflows collapsed. Prices inside Iran surged. Millions of jobs paused or disappeared. The government imposed a near-total internet shutdown. The pressure on Tehran is real, and it is severe, which is exactly why Hormuz matters so much to Iran right now. It is the one card Iran holds that causes pain proportional to the pain being inflicted on it. A strategic equalizer, the phrase one Marburg University economist used to describe it. Not a weapon of victory, a weapon of cost imposition. The logic is simple. If closing or threatening Hormuz raises global oil prices, disrupts LNG markets, and transmits this conflict into inflation and food security concerns for countries that have nothing to do with the war, then the US is no longer the only one paying a price for the pressure it applies to Iran. Everyone pays. And that changes the negotiation. Trump launched what the US military called Project Freedom. US Navy guided missile destroyers escorting merchant vessels through the strait, a demonstration of reach. A message that the waterway would be reopened by force if necessary. The US military reported that 2 merchant ships made it through. Shipping company Maersk confirmed one of them, the US-flagged Alliance Fairfax, had exited the Gulf under naval escort. Iran denied any crossings happened. The US military also reported destroying 6 small Iranian vessels during the operation. Iran denied that too. Tehran's counterclaim: the US killed 5 Iranian civilians. Both sides telling different versions of the same event. Neither version verifiable from the outside in real time. What happened in the strait on that day is genuinely contested. What is not contested is what happened on shore the same night. Fujairah, an emirate on the eastern coast of the UAE, home to an oil refinery exporting over 1.7 million barrels per day. Roughly 7% of daily global oil demand flowing through one facility. On Monday the 4th of May, drones and missiles struck it. A fire broke out at a major energy hub. The UAE blamed Iran. Iran did not immediately confirm the strikes but appeared on Tuesday to acknowledge responsibility, framing them as a response to US actions in the region. It was the first attack on Gulf state infrastructure since the ceasefire. The message was not subtle. Iran does not need to fight the US Navy directly in the strait. It can strike the UAE instead. It can strike Saudi Arabia. It can strike Qatar. Every Gulf state that has deepened ties with the US and Israel in recent years now sits within range of the same arsenal Iran has been deploying since February. As one analyst at the Doha Institute put it, Iran is telling Gulf Cooperation Council countries directly, if the US attacks us, we will destroy your infrastructure. That is not a veiled threat. That is a stated strategic doctrine delivered via explosion. The UAE in particular has become a focal point of Iranian pressure. Abu Dhabi normalized relations with Israel through the Abraham Accords in 2020. It deepened its strategic partnership with the US. In April 2026, it quit OPEC and OPEC+, the oil production cartels effectively led by Saudi Arabia. In the context of this war, the UAE's alignment is unambiguous. Over the course of the conflict so far, at least 6,413 missiles and drones have been launched at 7 Arab countries in the region, the majority directed at the UAE. The Gulf states have practiced what analysts call strategic patience, restraint. They have absorbed the pressure without formally entering the war. But Fujairah changes the calculation. At some point, restraint stops being strategy and starts being a liability. Iran's parliament speaker posted on social media on Tuesday. The continuation of the current situation is unbearable for the United States, while we have not even begun yet. The tone is defiant. Whether it reflects genuine confidence or is designed to project confidence that doesn't fully exist behind closed doors, that is harder to know. What analysts note is the contradiction sitting underneath the bravado. Iran is increasingly dependent on Hormuz for leverage, but using Hormuz fully, closing it completely, making transit impossible rather than just dangerous, would damage every country on Earth simultaneously, including countries that have been sympathetic to Iran, including countries Iran needs. The strait is a dangerous asset. That is the exact phrase one economist used. It gives Iran bargaining power precisely because using it fully would damage everyone. The threat is the leverage. The execution would eliminate it.